Section 8.7 is still factoring, but they're called factoring special cases. And the reason they're called special cases is because they all have kind of the same answer, the way they look. So we're still going to do the same process. We're going to take this number out in front and we're going to slide it over and we're going to do our x. So I got 36 over here, and then I need them to add or subtract to negative 12. So that means I'm going to find factors of 36 and I get negative 6 and negative 6. And then I'm going to group these together by splitting them up. And just like before, I find GCF of these two, GCF of those two. Remember that when that first term is negative, you need to pull it with it. And then I'm going to write down my answer. So I have x and negative 6 from my GCFs, and then the stuff in parentheses goes in the next. Notice they're the exact same thing. That's what I was trying to say by them called special cases, because they're the same answer on both. So then I need to finish by rewriting my answer with an exponent to show that I have two of those x minus 6's. Alright, you're going to pause the video and try the next one. So on the next one, you should have slid the 1 over and got 49, and then find the factors that add up to negative 14. So you should have had negative 7 and negative 7. So when you split it up, your GCF of the first two would be x and negative 7 of the second. And then when you write it out, you still get x minus 7, x minus 7. And then I rewrite it with an exponent to show that I have two of the same type of factor. The other kind of special case is when there's not a middle term. So what you might consider doing is rewriting it. So z squared, there's technically a 0 setting here for that middle term with the z, and then bring down the negative 9. You don't have to rewrite it, but you do want to make sure you understand that that middle term is a 0. So then I still slide it over, I get negative 9 on top, and then my middle term will have to be 0. So then I need factors of 9 that will add up to 0. So then I use 3 and negative 3. Split it up like we normally do, find our GCF. So I pulled a z from the first one, and I pulled a negative 3 from the second one. And then this time I will have z minus 3 for my two GCFs, and then z plus 3 for the other one. So this type of special case is it'll end up being the same expression, but one will be a plus and one will be a minus. Let's take a look at another example here. I just wanted to show you this one because it had a number out in front of the x squared. So again, you can rewrite it and put that 0x as your middle term. These numbers get kind of large, so when I slide 16 over, I get negative 1296. And again, since it's kind of large, you may want to just go ahead and Google the factors of 1296 so you can find the set. So I would use 36 and negative 36. Split it apart and find my GCFs. Now this time it's going to be a little bit different. It's just not going to be pulling an x out. So I'm going to be pulling a 4 and an x because I can divide both of these by 4. And on this one I'm going to be pulling a negative 9 because I can divide both of them by 9. Then I'm going to rewrite it so my two GCFs come together, so I get 4x minus 9, and then the other one should be 4x plus 9. So for these special cases, you can kind of check that you're doing them right by they should be the same expression. One should be a plus or a minus, or it can be the other kind where it's the same expression listed twice. We're going to skip that got it question if it's on your note-taking guide, so you can cross that out. And then we're going to look at just a couple more. There'll be two sections on your worksheet. The top one will be practicing the special cases, and then the bottom one will have the extra step where you need to find the GCF. So we're going to first start by factoring out my GCF, which would be 6. So I divide both of these by 6, and then I pull that 6 and I put it down here with my answer. So after I divide by 6, I'm just working with this, so it makes my numbers a lot smaller. So then I can just use negative 4 and 0. So my numbers for that have to be 2 and negative 2. And then start doing my GCF. So I'm going to pull 2g from this and a negative 1. So then remember my GCF comes down here at the beginning. And then I have 2g minus 1 and 2g plus 1. Your job is you're going to pause the video and try the got it question. If you have this first one here listed, you're going to just skip that and just do this one. So just make sure you're doing letter B or this expression here. So in your got it question, you should have first started by pulling a 3 for your GCF. So I'm going to put that 3 down there in my answer. And then I'm going to slide my 4 over and find my factors, so I should be using 2 and 2. When I do my grouping, I pulled a 2x from the first group and a 1 from the second group. So I got 3 as my GCF and then 2x plus 1 and 2x plus 1. Since they are the same, I rewrite it with that exponent of 2. So special cases, you're still doing the same process as factoring that we've been doing. The only difference is they have a pattern to them. So if you have 3 of your terms here, you should be rewriting it as the same expression, so you use an exponent. If you just have 2 terms like this one, it should be the same expression, but you're going to have one that's a plus and one that's a minus.